Another knife I want to review for you today. This is a knife that I showed on my Instagram account. I did a quick little video of flipping this thing open. It's got to be one of my favorite flippers, definitely of 2015 and probably of the last couple years. This thing is just, it's amazing. The fit and finish on this and how this blade shoots out. Jason Brous has definitely perfected the flipper as far as the knives that I've been handling as of late. Just absolutely amazing. This, of course, is the Silent Soldier model, but this one is the newest version in G10. And it also happens to be the cheapest version or most affordable version of the Silent Soldier flipper. Very, very popular design. This is basically where it all started for Brous blades. I mean, obviously came up with dozens of other awesome, amazing models, but this is where the roots are in this model. And of course, he has a couple different versions of it at this point, but this is the newest. This version, again, in G10, but this very specific one has an acid stonewash finish. Okay, so it's basically blacked out, but the blade is then stonewashed. I think there's 4 different versions. If you don't get the old blacked out one, the hardware and the pocket clip will be stainless, as well as I think the back spacer. But this one, of course, is all blacked out. It's definitely my style. Just super, super cool knife. But anyway, I want to start off real quick with how you get it. Here's your packaging. It's coming with his card. And of course, you're going to get your certificate of authenticity. Okay, and these are in the birth date, of course, of the knife. This is number 347 of 1,000. You have some more specifics on this particular knife. I like how Jason does the business card style certificate of authenticity. Of course, this is all stuff that people are really going to want for the collectors. The users out there, they just want this. That's all, just the knife. They get rid of the box. They don't care about the cards. They just grab the knife, throw it in their pocket, and they're good to go. Start off quick with some specs on this. Our blade is 2.5 inches long, and then that's basically the measurement from the tip to the top of the handle. The cutting edge is going to be slightly smaller, of course. It is a D2 blade. Jason does an amazing job on his D2. Rockwell, I believe, is 59 to 61. Just, I mean, the performance is phenomenal. D2 is already a great steel, but it can differ a little bit between makers and especially companies too. Like when you're talking about some of the bigger manufacturers out there, there's slight differences in D2, but for the most part, D2 is D2. And as long as it has a good heat treat on it, it's going to perform very nicely for you. Especially since this is coated here, you don't really have to worry too much about it, rusting out on you at all. You do have an exposed edge. Even with a knife like this, I don't oil it. When I have like an uncoated D2 blade, I will wipe it down with some oil. This knife, as long as you keep it dry, you shouldn't really have any problems, unless, of course, you live in a very warm climate or you have a lot of humidity all the time. Then you might want to just touch that edge up a little bit with some oil before you store it for longer periods of time. Blade is 3/16 inches thick. Now you can see that the body here has a thick spacer, but very, very low profile scales. The G10 on here is extremely thin. All right, very nicely contoured all the way around. Again, this comes down to the attention to detail. The close length here is 3.65 inches, and overall it's 6.37 inches. All right, the weight on here is 4.2 ounces. It's a short, chunkier knife, so a little bit wider, a little bit shorter. Even though it's coming in just over 4 ounces, it doesn't carry like 4 ounces. I've had some longer knives that were thinner or slimline, more slimline than this, and they kind of felt heavier than this. Even though it's small and chunky, it carries very nicely in the pocket. Speaking of the carry, here's the pocket clip, of course, very deep carry. You can see the cutout on the other side here, so you can swap this clip from right side carry to left side carry. It is only set up for tip up, but that's okay because most of you guys out there want tip up anyway. All right, guys, just want to give you a quick close up here. You can see how the pocket clip works. It is deep concealed carry. It is set up with 1 screw. If you were to swap it to the other side, you just take the screw out. Of course, you can remove the pocket clip if you didn't want it either. But the pocket clip just slides in between the stainless steel liner and that scale, and then you just put the screw in down to lock it in place. But looking at this shot here from the top, you can see just how thin this scale is. All right, it takes a lot of precision, to produce knife scales like this. This is probably the thinnest knife scale I've ever seen on a knife, but very, very well executed. So since we're zoomed in here, I'll give you kind of a rotation so you can see some of the detail here. Just awesome. The G10 looks very nice. It is completely smooth. There's no texturing on this at all, but I didn't find any issues at all with the grip on this knife, simply because of the fact of its shape overall. All right, the ergos are great on this. That flipper, you know, acts as a very deep finger control here. You can see it's almost completely half circle. It really locks in. The other fingers land nicely. 2 fingers, of course, here. Then the pinky just lands on the back. Very, very comfortable. The one thing, however, I did notice, and this goes along with having such thin scales, you can see this is a liner lock. All right, so I can show you that the lock up there is absolutely perfect. Perfectly spot on. But if you look over here, the inside of this scale, when this liner moves over, it exposes this very, very thin edge. Okay, now it's something I didn't notice right away, but when I was using the knife, not always, occasionally, I don't know, I can't put a number on it, but if I had to guess, maybe 1 out of every 5 or 6 times I went to use it, depending on your grip, depending on how you're carrying this, if you squeeze down hard, my middle finger, or pointer finger, depending on how I'm holding it, did feel a little bit of pressure, extra pressure from that thin scale. Okay, just something to note there. Like right now, I'm gripping, I don't feel it at all. If I move my hands around a little bit, it's a little random as to when you feel that, but I did notice that because it's so thin, it digs into the skin just a little bit. Also, love the deep concealed clip. However, you can see in its positioning here, being right-handed, it also digs into the hand a little bit. So when you're using this a little bit harder in this position here, I did find that it would give me a hot spot on the palm. When I put my finger through the hole in the blade, it's not an issue because it extends past the palm, okay, at least for my hands and my size. So something to note. Normally, I wouldn't be putting my finger through the blade here like this. I've had, you know, a Gerber knife in the past that had a hole in the blade. I've had a couple other models before, and I don't tend to use that, but with this knife, because of this hotspot, I did start using this a little more often, and I kind of got used to using a knife like this. It gives you a hell of a lot of control. If you were considering this to be like a defensive type blade, obviously having your finger through the blade, you're not going to lose grip with that knife. So it's a very cool added feature, having that hole right through the blade like that. But I did want to mention just the 2 hot spots. Again, the pocket clip in this position here, and then in some cases that liner had rubbed on the inside of my pointer finger or middle finger. Just depends on the grip. Of course, in the reverse grip, it's very, very comfortable. I always grab knives like this in the reverse grip. I'll puncture some cardboard and stuff, but generally speaking, I'm not doing any stabbing. I just want to see what it's going to feel like, but also very comfortable there. No hot spots at all in reverse grip. You can see that the hardware here is Torx. All right, very adjustable. Okay, you can see the body screws also Torx, and same with the pocket clip. All right, so if you want, you can break this knife down completely to clean it, which is a very nice feature. As far as the jimping on this, I mean, Jason does, it's such a simple design, honestly, and I've never seen anyone do it. I don't know if it's, you know, specifically patented or not, but this has got to be the most functional jimping on any knife ever. It's just a simple cut. It's a square cut into the spine. Of course, you can put it anywhere you want on a knife, I guess. But having a cross cut down the middle of it creates so much more surface area. All right, so instead of just having, you know, the corner, and I talked about this in one of the other reviews I did, but it really is amazing. If you're into jimping, this is by far the best design out there, period. You don't just get the surface area of inside both cuts. Now you've created basically double the surface area, or if not triple. All right, so it's just really, really aggressive, but not uncomfortable. Throwing the thumb on there, it just feels great. I really, really like the jimping on that. And like I said, I'm not one to constantly talk about that because I don't always have to worry about my finger slipping off. If I was using it really hard to where my thumb slipped off on a knife, it's not going anywhere. It doesn't bother me. However, when you're holding a knife like this, okay, and you want to get a little bit more control, I do find that this just grabs onto that finger, doesn't want to let go, but it's not uncomfortable. I've had a very aggressive jimping before that just hurt the finger because it was literally too aggressive. So just absolutely perfect design there on the spine. As far as the flipper, and actually real quick, let me just show you the centering here. It's perfect, beautiful centering. Again, attention to detail on this is wonderful. The fit and finish is fantastic. The lockup is great on this. There's no blade play in any direction. Again, the lockup on that liner lock is absolutely perfect. Okay, so you see a little cutout on the liner lock, so when you go to push it over, you have a little bit of an indentation, just gives you a little bit better grip. All right, I want to focus on this flipper a little bit because this is what's probably most impressive about this knife is just how flawless it is, how easy it is to use, how fast it is. The first thing I noticed, and how most people notice, is that the flipper is placed more downward onto the knife handle. Usually a flipper would be up here towards the top. You figure you have your normal grip, you push down, there's your flipper, you're good to go, right? This is placed further down on the handle, but the design here is just absolutely perfect. The detent pressure is just enough. You can see this blade sucks in. It's nice and tight, okay? You can hear that, how audible that is, that snap. All right, so it creates enough pressure so that when it does give way, it shoots out lightning fast. But there's a trick to these, okay? Instead of pulling down like most people are used to, you can go like this, you give it a little wrist action on there, you can pop it out, but that's not really how these are intended to be used. I found that if you push this in almost like a button, it works just like a button, just like an automatic knife. It feels exactly like an auto. It doesn't even feel like a flipper. It just feels like you have an automatic knife. The button just happens to be in the back. All right, so what you want to do is instead of pulling down on this thing, just push in. Okay, so again, instead of going on an angle down or even straight down, just push literally straight in like a button, and that thing pops out lightning fast. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. This is probably one of my favorite knives to play with lately too. Even when I'm not carrying this, when I get home and I'm kind of cycling through my EDC stuff, I will take this, and when I'm watching videos on YouTube, I'll just flip this open and close it. It's just extremely, extremely fun. Awesome flipper design. I love it, absolutely love it. Something else I wanted to point out with this knife, and most of Jason's work, if not all of it, is the fact that he keeps his blades very sterile. There's no logos on the blade, there's no information on the blade. You're going to be using your knife, hopefully, and you're going to be scratching the heck out of it, and anything that would be on the blade would eventually get rubbed off, okay? So he puts his logos and information elsewhere. In this particular case, it's in 2 spots. The most obvious is right on that back spacer. It just gives the knife a different look. It's not like every other knife, you know, and that's something I like about this a lot. But in this case, you also have it on the pocket clip. Now, this is serialized, okay? It's limited to 1 of 1,000. So if we zoom in here, we could see that on the other side of our backspacer is your serial number, 347 in this particular case out of 1,000. So again, that's something that's not going to get rubbed off easily if you were to use your knife. So just a nice little touch. I really like that a lot. As I mentioned before, just the overall quality of this knife is very, very high. It really is very nice. This is a semi-custom knife. It's absolutely beautiful. And the price tag on these are 200 bucks. And that's the cheapest you're going to find for a Silent Soldier flipper. Okay, he has a couple different versions of this. Probably one of the more popular ones is the carbon fiber version, also a lyre lock, but those I think are like $330 in that price range. So you're talking $130 less just because you're going with the G-10 instead of a carbon fiber. That is a phenomenal deal. And of course, you know, if you wanted the best of the best, he does have a full frame lock version, I believe in all tie, polished up. I mean, super cool, but then you're talking like a $500 price tag. So coming in at just under 200 bucks, I mean, now you're talking about making this accessible to a lot more people out there. So that's why I'm a huge, huge fan of the G10 version. I'm surprised that I waited this long to actually get a hold of one of the Silent Soldiers. I'm such a fan of Jason's work, and I love every single knife I've ever gotten from him. Of course, I've had a couple other ones that I've reviewed before from him. He's just awesome. He's a really great knife maker, a knife designer, and you know, this is where it started. This is, you know, the prize ship right here. And I love it. It's awesome. Now that I've tried this version, I'd love to try some of the other versions, maybe in the future. All right, guys, just one more thing I want to point out here, and that is with the blade, okay, and our grinds. Now, imagine this hole wasn't here. You can see the grind lines here, and it would come down and curve in, and this is where it ends, right? But you can see our sharpened edge stops before that, okay? There's a good 1/4 inch here at least. And to me, that could have been sharpened blade, okay? So you already have a small blade, and it's even smaller, you know, our cutting edge is even smaller because of that. So that's just, I mean, it's a personal pet peeve, and I'm not just calling Jason out on this. I've seen so many companies do this and so many different makers. It's just a pet peeve of mine. That's all. It's just a little detail that I like to see. If the grind ends here, I want to see the very edge of the blade to end there as well. You know, obviously it gets tremendously thicker here, so it's something that I want to see done, but it might not be as easy as I think it is, you know. But perhaps maybe a small blade choil there might solve that problem, that you can sharpen it all the way to the very edge. You know, just something that I noticed. But again, it's not just this knife. It's pretty much, I can't put a percentage on it. There's a lot of knives out there. When I'm doing reviews, occasionally I'll mention it, occasionally I won't, but it's something that always bothers me. So anyway, other than that, you know, I love this knife. It's absolutely amazing. It really is top notch. The quality is there. There's a lot of production knives out there for like 200 bucks, which are very nice, but honestly, the fit, the finish, you know, it's superior. It's superior to most production knives out there. This is a semi-custom knife, but for the price tag, you're getting a hell of a lot of knife for that. So I'm a huge fan of it. If you guys have been on the fence about this knife, or maybe it's been a little bit out of your reach as far as the price range, now it's cheap as it's ever been. So I jump on it while they're still available. I know Jason's stuff sells out very, very fast. You can get it direct from Jason. I know Blade HQ is a dealer for him as well. So I'll put links to both their sites. I'm not sure what's in stock, but like I said, I jump on it while you can. It's a beautiful knife. It really is. The Silent Soldier, like I said, is where it all started, and I'm very, very excited to see that he has yet another version of it. And like I said, it's the cheapest one yet. So anyway, hope you guys enjoy the review. I thank you very much for watching, of course. Your time is always appreciated. If you have this knife, or if you have other versions of this knife, write down in the comments what you think of it so everyone can see your opinions as well. And I hope you guys have an awesome day. I'll see you soon. Take care.